All right, welcome to session 3 of the Computer Science Nevada Conference. We're so excited you're spending your morning with us and having the afternoon off. It's super exciting that we have the afternoon off. I would like to introduce to you Margaret Novak. She's been teaching with Clark County School District for 10 years. She currently teaches AP Computer Science Principles, AP Computer Science A, and Cybersecurity at Foothill High School in Henderson. Mrs. Novak is also a College Board grader for AP Computer Science Principles. She volunteers with CSTA to review proposals for conferences and awards, such as Cutler Bell Prize and the CSTA National Conference, and she's a member of CSTA and NACTE.
Whoa. Thank
you for coming and speaking, and I'm passing it on to Margaret. Thank you.
All right, thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. If you didn't put your information in the chat so we can introduce ourselves to one another. We all hopefully are interested in how we can make sure that we meet our goals for the Nevada Educator Performance Framework standards, right? So these are the goals from the NEPF. We want to foster student learning and growth to improve educator effectiveness. And you can read all that. I don't really, I mean, we want to make sure that for all of us, what we're trying to do is make sure that we are meeting all of our goals and making sure that our, oh my God, my brain went on leave this morning, that we can meet all of the things in the framework, okay, as we create our lessons, so we can do the best thing we can for our students and so that we don't get in trouble with our administrators. Okay. These are the components. We have an educational practice category and a student performance category. The student performance category was worth 15%, I think, before, and then 85% for the educational practice. And then you have your instructional domain, your instructional practice domain, and the professional responsibilities domain that are part of the educational practice category. And we're only going to talk about the instructional practice domain today. Okay, so there's a lot more things that are involved in NEPF, but we're just gonna hit the highlights on this, which is where we do all of our lesson planning, and it's also 65% of the whole thing. So it's the big part. Okay. So these are the 5 instructional practice standards. We have to make sure that new learning is connected to prior learning and experience, that the learning tasks have high cognitive demand for diverse learners. We want to make sure kids are getting smarter. That students engage in meaning making through discourse and other strategies. So hopefully they talk to each other. And students engage in metacognitive activity to increase understanding of and responsibility for their own learning. So we want to make sure they know what they know, right? And then we have to have some kind of assessment so we know that they know what they know, right? So, all right. So first thing is standard 1, where we have, and each one of these things have little subtopics. So we're going to go through all of the little subtopics and make sure how we can tick all the boxes as easily as possible. And to be honest, as we go through them, you're going to see that you probably already are ticking all the boxes, but this is a way to make sure that you can make sure your administrators know you're ticking all the boxes, right? And that's the goal. So when we're making sure that learning is connected to prior learning, actually I'm going to, I hit escape here. Oh, good, it does work. So I did share with you guys a Canvas course. And this has the presentation in it, and I downloaded it. If you want to be added to this course, I can certainly add you to it if you're in CCSD. I don't know if I can add people outside of CCSD, but I mean, I can try and see if it works. But I can add you to it so you can see it directly. But the performance test that I'm talking about today is this one where it's a programming test for students to convert decimal numbers to Roman numerals. And it starts with a video that tells them how to read or how to convert decimal numbers to Roman numerals. Exciting, right? Whoops. And it gives them, you know, the general outline of the task. And then it also provides them with starter code. I give them options. So in my class, this is for computer science principals. So in my class, they can pick whether they prefer JavaScript or Python. So if I click on the JavaScript, they can see this is the starter code. And actually, and I do use the CodeHS sandbox, the free sandbox. It's pretty easy for the students, so it's absolutely free. But what I have done for them is given them some arrays, and it says that they can use these two values if they want to do a simplistic algorithm to solve their problem, or they can use these two arrays if they want to create an advanced algorithm. So it gives them some options within the assignment to decide how they're going to do it. And they can see by looking at the difference between the two arrays, how their program, how their algorithm might have to be different, right? So it gives them a little clue. This gives them a little bit of scaffolding for them to be able to write the program. And then it also gives them an outline of really what is expected, and their final output is going to be that it calls, they have to get input from the user, and tells them that they have to have positive integers only from the user, so they know that they have to do some kind of iteration if somebody enters something incorrectly. And then they call the function, and they have to write the function, right? So, all right. And the same thing will happen from Python. They have the same, pretty much the same outline in Python, except for Python code. Okay. It gives them a rubric so they know what's expected at the end, has the lesson standards, has the lesson objectives, and it gives them a file that they need to submit, which basically says provide a link to your code and share the source code, and also to copy and paste their code. So the link is so that I can run it easily and not have to copy and paste it into an IDE and see if it is there. Do you know, should kids know how to use dictionaries and maps? I don't know. They don't have to, actually. We're just, they can just use the arrays, because this is more of list array practice for them. And I have them copy and paste their code because there is a plagiarism checker, and about half the time it's the same person's code that they've changed just the variable names. So we just, that's why they have to copy and paste their code. All right. So you guys get after they, after they've done their project, then they actually do their own metacognitive evaluate their own. So they use a document to evaluate their code using the rubric. So this is their self-evaluation. They're going to do their own scoring. So it gives them all of the lines from the rubric. It also actually asks them to give 5 examples and to do an annotated example of how their program works on a step-by-step basis, basically a code trace. So, yeah. But these are actually Word docs and attached through Canvas. So it's not really a Google Classroom. This is a Canvas.
Oh, I was asking, is the plagiarism checker part of Google Classroom, or is that something else?
It is the Google LTI through Canvas. Sorry.
Uh-huh. Okay, so the plagiarism checker is through that integration.
Yes.
And so is that the same checker that like would work for a regular document as well, like not just for code?
Yeah, it works for any regular document.
Okay,
Yep.
Interesting. Cool. Thanks.
Yep. So, okay. Where we were. finish my presentation. So anyways, yay. All right, so now you got to have an idea of what the lesson is. So we'll just talk about how does it meet now all of those lovely standards. So in and other ways to meet the standards aside from what that is, but teacher activates all the initial understandings. So some kind of class opener, and in this case, I used a video, right? You can also have a question of the day or some kind of demonstration or some kind of pre-check quiz or some kind of journal entry or some kind of something that will let them have some initial understanding or figure out what they know already, right? They make explicit connections between previous learning and new concepts. So in this lesson, they are able to choose their path. They're based on their language preference and their programming skill, right? So they get to make a choice. And there's scaffolding included in the lesson. So a lot of times where you have scaffolding in your lessons, you're going to be able to meet multiple different points in the NEPF. A lot of the same activities from activate initial understandings are also going to count about making explicit connections. So the question of the day, a pre-check quiz, some kind of class discussion, all of those kinds of things will help to meet that part of the NEPF. Sorry about that. Shut this off so it doesn't ding. Teacher makes clear the purpose and relevance of new learning. So in the sample lesson, of course, and this is the easiest thing, just have the standards or at least the objectives the student will be able to. Any of the student will be able to will make you meet this part of the NEPF. Then it does set the student expectations. Okay. That tasks have high cognitive demand for diverse learners. So they have to purposefully employ student cognitive abilities and skills that appropriate demands are on each student, that we progressively develop their cognitive abilities, and the teacher operates with a deep belief that all children can achieve regardless of race, perceived ability, and socioeconomic status. So luckily, it's a performance task, and in a performance task, you're going to get all of those higher level thinking. So anything the purposefully employs all students' cognitive abilities and skills, anything where you have higher level thinking, reasoning, problem solving, evaluating, designing, creating, anywhere where you're doing, you have some kind of purposeful task. Makes appropriate demands. So then again, in the sample lesson, they could either choose the higher level or lower level. That's totally up to them. Anytime you have a project-based learning, you're going to have a way or layered curriculum or anywhere where you're differentiating. That's where you're going to be able to show that you have placed appropriate demands on the student. But project-based learning is really one of the areas where, and we're lucky in computer science because there's so many opportunities for a lot of that you can let students tailor their own learning to what they know already and continue to develop. Task progressively develop all student cognitive abilities. So again, they can pick the lower level and move up to the higher level if they're ready or not. You have to create relevant tasks with a purpose and not just give busy work. Don't just do that. And also, you know, a lesson doesn't have to be one day's instruction, right? A lesson can be a series of mini lessons, right? And when you're evaluating your lesson, you can say, well, this is day one, and then we're going to be doing this next, and then we're going to be doing that next. And so especially when you're introducing new programming topics. You can start out with, let's have some guided practice together, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to have you guys do it yourselves, and then we can take what you've learned when we're all doing the same thing, and then move it into a project to do another kind of practice where that it's more project based, and it uses all of those concepts, and maybe it uses all of the concepts that they used previously as well. And programming, the building that we have ingrained in programming is just so awesome. The teacher operates with a deep belief that all children can achieve regardless of race, perceived ability, and socioeconomic status. The easiest way to meet that is to walk around and interact with all your students. I mean, that is the easiest way. Set high expectations, set growth targets when they're possible. So you can say, you were here, you got up to here. That's awesome. Or, you know, I mean, growth targets are a lot harder because that's very individualized, and you have to, you know, be able to find the starting points and then monitor progress and things like that. But I mean, that really is probably the best way to show it, but it's probably the most difficult. The easiest way is walk around and interact with your students. All right, the metacognition part, right? Students engage in metacognitive activity to increase understanding and responsibility of their own learning. Students engage in metacognitive activity to increase understanding of and responsibility for their own learning. Teacher structures opportunities for self-monitored learning for all students. Teacher supports all students to take action based on students' own self-monitoring processes. So how do we do that, right? So students all understand what they know, why they know it, how they know it. This is it. Lesson has the standard. What do they know? The objective. Why do they know it, right? The rubric. How do they know if they've learned it, right? That's super simple. If you do boom, boom. So the standard and objective are pretty easy. You go to wherever you get your standards from. For us, it's been Curriculum Engine, but wherever, and you incorporate those into your lesson and incorporate them, especially for CCSD, we incorporate them into our Canvas lessons so that the students can read them. They know where they are, they know what they are, and how to find them. Student structures opportunities for self-monitored learning for all students. So the lesson has a self-assessment. You can also do reflections, a self-check, did your program work, right? How do you know if it did it? Your program worked perfect, right? So, or if you have a bigger project, some kind of a debrief with your students. Teacher supports all students to take action based on the student's own self-monitoring. So encourage students to revise, edit, and fix, right? Encourage students not to procrastinate. So if you're watching them on GoGuardian and on or Land School or wherever it is, that they can, you can say, hey, are you using your time effectively, and see if it, and help them to, that's a little bit of you monitoring, but at least that way they can know if they're making good progress. Encourage them to ask their peers for assistance. If you guys have ducks, let them, you know, talk to the duck, and provide additional resources. And in Canvas or in any online LMS, it's pretty easy to do that. All right, assessment is integrated into instruction. Teacher plans ongoing opportunities based on evidence of all students' current learning status, aligns assessment opportunities with learning goals and performance criteria, structures opportunities to generate evidence of learning, and adapts actions based on evidence. So, ongoing learning based on evidence of all current learning status. You have got to have some sort of formative assessment in your planning. Having scaffolded tasks actually does help you to meet the criteria. And or having multiple entry points, different starter code for different levels. I have some other like game projects that I have kids do, where I will give them the kids that need help will just have to say, I'm stuck here, and then we give them, you know, some starter code to help them out. Teacher aligns assessment opportunities with learning goals and performance criteria. So again, include the standards and include the learning goals, right? That's really, you need to make sure that those things are in there and provide rubrics that say, this is how you meet this standard. And pretty much all performance tasks meet the objective. I mean, but you just need some way for students to demonstrate mastery. All right, teacher structures opportunities to generate evidence of learning during the lesson of all students. So you basically have to have some sort of, you collect evidence. When I have the kids do things in Code HS, I can actually look at their history and see that they, you know, and that's another way to check that if they're cheating, because if they went from no code to, you know, pages of code in 10 seconds, you can see that they obviously got the code from somewhere else. But the IDE history in the perfect world does show their progression and how well they're moving forward. So that is a way to generate some evidence. And I don't know if code.org has that where you can see their revision history as they go forward, but they may have that same kind of thing where you can see how they've progressed from place to place. But the IDE history is a really good way to see, to provide evidence basically for progression. Teacher adapts actions based on evidence generated in the lesson for all the students. So if you have to do, if you're going through and having to show students the difference between, I mean, this is Java, but arrays and array lists and how they're doing it, you know, you may want to have to come back and reteach that concept again, right? As you're going around and helping the students. Or you may see that students aren't making the progress, like you have the due date today and only one kid turned it in, right? So you may have to, that's my evidence, is that maybe this is not enough time. And I've seen all day long that they're all working, they just couldn't get it done. So then if you allow the additional time, then again, you're adapting your actions based on the evidence. All right, so here are your performance levels, and hopefully you'll be somewhere, if you're including a lot of these things, you'll be somewhere in the 3 and 4 range. I think we went over a lot of different ways that computer science really makes it easy to keep yourself in the 3 and 4 range. Oops, I need to go to that part. These are some additional resources. This is the NDE NEPF webpage, if you're looking for that. RPDP has some resources, and actually, I have taken a couple of these Canvas courses on NEPF. So from this is the Nevada Department of Education ones, but they're pretty good resource. Get a lot of information from them. And then, if you have any questions, that's mine. So hopefully that was informative and you got something out of it. Let's stop sharing. Stop sharing. Do we have any questions? Did we stay on time? Right early? No? Thank you. The Canvas course, I actually, oh, do you want to share the links and everything, or? Oh, one was in the drive earlier. The link that I gave you was in there, but I can actually add anybody that wants to be added to the Canvas course if you're in CC. I can try and add you if you're not in CCSD, but if you put your email in, I'll just see if it will let me add you.
I'm going to go ahead and put the links from earlier in the session with the slides and the resources that you had shared, so you have access to those. We will soon find out if we can add outside of CCSD people.
Yeah. Okay, we'll try.
In just a few minutes, I'll go ahead and put in the link for the session's evaluation. I'm going to hold off until all the emails get through so it doesn't get buried in the top of the chat. But again, make sure you fill that evaluation out. That's going to be your attendance for this session. And while you're typing, do your students work independently through the Canvas course, or, and I know you said you put some stopping points in there, so they can't work ahead? No, that was the last session. Sorry.
No, I didn't.
Thinking ahead,
they can't.
in the past. So is this more of an independent CSP class, or?
No, we have instruction, but these are they're like towards the end of we've already done all of the programming stuff. So these are some of the projects towards the end of the course.
Okay, so just a quick check. Is everybody who wants to put their email already put their email in? I'm going to go ahead and put the link for this session. And I'd like to thank Margaret Novak so much for sharing that wealth of knowledge about
it did not let me do Washoe. Sorry.
Yeah, hence the upside down smiley face that I posted.
But she did give you I did the resource, the second resource is actually the Canvas course download. So it's the export, so you could import it. So I tried to be cognizant of that.
All right, I'll repost the session. So the session title is Meeting NEPF Criteria with Your Computer Science Projects. And then the form is right there. And I believe that brings us to the end. Please hang out, keep asking questions. And our closing session begins at, let me just double check, I'm pretty sure 12:15. Oh, 12:20, so you get a 5-minute break. 12:20 to 12:30. It's just a quick check-in and get some awesome raffle prizes, so you definitely don't want to miss that. And again, thanks so much for attending. And I hope you got a lot of knowledge or a wealth of knowledge over this Saturday morning, and you walk away with some great ideas and strategies for your classroom.
Thank you. Awesome.
And once again, just in case you don't remember, the link for the closing session is the same link that you use for the opening session, and you can access that through Canvas. I'm going to go ahead and open up my Canvas. Oh, let's ignore those. So if you go to Canvas on the home page, you can go to schedule, and then under schedule, if you go to closing, the link right there in the end of event survey is also going to be there in case it doesn't go into the chat, or you need that for the chat, or it goes into the chat and it disappears so fast because so many people are typing stuff in there. All right. think that's it. So I'm going to hang out if you have any questions about general questions about the conference. Margaret's hanging out if you have any questions about her session. And again, 12:20 at the closing session.
Sure, I get everybody. The washer ones I tried to add messed up some of the other ones.
Oh, no.
Let's see.
Margaret,
Uh-huh.
oh my gosh. Which school are you at?
Foothill?
Oh, are you going to be there for the FTC, the state championship? I might run into you because I'm going to be down there. So
Yep.
if I find you, I will pick your brain because
We're hosting.
I know, yeah. So I'm like, ooh, maybe you'll be there hanging out because, yeah, your Canvas / Google situation is the stuff of dreams for us Washoe County teachers. So I'm gonna have to pick your brain and see how I can try to adapt that to our paltry tools that we are provided. So
Well, I know
you can
Washoe
use
next.
Canvas for free, and
Yeah.
then take anything you want from it.
yeah,
Washoe's moving to Canvas next year.
how have I not heard? What do you want with old
It depends
things?
on if admin gets it to the teachers, but
Oh.
yes, Canvas is coming. I haven't heard if it's Google or still staying with Microsoft and how Microsoft interacts with Canvas. But we are definitely moving to Canvas next year.
At least that's a step in the direction that I would like to see, considering all my students that are starting UNR in the fall as seniors, they're going to be using Canvas. So
Mhm.
might as well start in high school. Like yeah.
It's so much easier. I feel like Washoe's a little backwards in the Microsoft. You have to use Teams and then you have to use this and everything, and that they don't really work well together.
Yeah, no, the integration is pathetic, quite frankly, to use a not strongly worded word that I usually use for Microsoft products. No hate on Microsoft people in here, but just they don't work for what we need, at least in my opinion. But that's my soapbox.
Princess, I think you got a haircut. It looks really nice.
Oh yeah, I did. Thank you.
I put the resources that were in the Canvas course right there. So anybody who doesn't have a CCSD email can access all the files through this link right here.
Yeah, it's a Canvas download, so, or a Canvas export, course export. I heard that I had to actually do my own evaluation too,
Oh, do you?
to make sure that I got credit, for the whole day.
I guess I better go do that.
Well, that's what Cindy told me, or Cindy said during one of the other sessions, so I'm guessing
Okay.
she would know.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll go run and do mine.
Yeah, so, all right. Well, thank you guys all for coming. I appreciate it. If there's no more questions.
Not to like hijack, but Tony, are you there? Fellow Washoe County Tony, I'm staring at you. Quick question. I can't remember. Do you teach APCSA or no?
So they're doing year 1, 2, and 3, but they're not coding it with the CSA. So I'm just doing the curriculum, but the students are not having the that coding on their transcript. It's
Okay.
beyond me about why that all is. So
Okay, because I was just gonna check if you wanted to jump in tomorrow. I think Tracy's posting about it in the CSA PLC like teams for us, because she wanted a little kind of not refresher, but a little slight in-depth dive into like recursion. She asked me if I could put that together.
for tomorrow,
Yeah, we're
Okay.
just gonna start up a meeting at 5 p.m. on the CSA PLC. So just double check that if you want to jump on. I'll have like some
Oh.
notes
Yeah,
go
no,
over.
thank you for letting me know because I probably will be there then. Thank you.
Yeah,
That would be great.
we're literally like texting each other right now, so we'll probably I'll just do like a, classic, like a Fibonacci or something for
Perfect.
recursion and go over a couple other things.
Well, thank you.
So
Thank you
everyone
for
can jump
thinking of
in.
me. I always forget to go into Teams and double check everything, you know?
Oh, same. Yeah.
Then I don't put the notifications on because then they bombard you with notifications. So
Yep.
there's no
Mhm.
happy medium.
Indeed. So yeah, if you're interested, jump on tomorrow at
am.
5. So Tracy will post about it.
All right, 5 o'clock then. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, I guess it's time to scoot that. away.
Okay, so folks who are still in the room, if you hear me, I'll keep this room open for about another 5 minutes, but in 5 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and close it out and we'll see everyone at the closing session.